Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. You know what we do here in Fresno is we find what's good about Fresno, who's doing good things, who has cool businesses. There's so many great and wonderful things going on in Fresno that it's our mission to bring those to you. By the way, not just Fresno, the whole valley, the foothills, the mountains, all Bakersfield, all the way up to Sacramento, we have guests. So if you have something going on that's good and you want the world to know about it, we could be your first stop. Now, our next guest is involved with a group that is doing something very, very important, and we asked her to come in because we want our viewers to know about it. Our guest is Cindy Lawrence with Breaking the Chains. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you for having me.
What's that mean, Breaking the Chains?
Breaking the Chains is essentially helping young women, young men, and adults just break the chains that bind them to slavery. And human trafficking essentially is slavery. And there's many different forms of it. We are, I think, all familiar with sex trafficking, but there's also labor trafficking. And then now we're also looking at organ trafficking, which is becoming an increased bigger issue.
What do you mean organ trafficking? They're capturing a person
and removing organs for sale. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
And is that happening in Fresno, the Valley, California?
I have not seen any organ cases come through. We primarily work with sex trafficking victims and some labor trafficking victims as well, but haven't seen anything like that yet here.
You need to start watching.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, how can we spot this? The sex trafficking is kind of the easier one to spot, but there's other things like people working in their warehouse and paying them nothing and next to nothing.
Well, I would say that it's really difficult to identify a trafficking victim or a trafficker, just in the sense that they are so covert and they have really learned to be coercive and pushing people into situations that they're not comfortable with. So they've grown with the different approaches that they take, especially in the sex trafficking. We're seeing more and more young girls that are being trafficked when they go into relationships with young men. They'll be in a relationship for several months. They'll be in love. And these are young teenage girls, so you know how that feels when you're young and in love. And then eventually it moves on to, hey, if you love me and everything I've done for you, I want you to do this for me.
Do this for me, right.
Right. And then there's that huge conflict of, I love him, he loves me. And so it's really trying to address that basic need once we have these girls come in.
And what's the role of breaking the chains? Is it just like we're doing now, bringing it out, saying it in public?
Absolutely. Advocacy for human traffic is, I think, one of Deborah Rush's primary goals in what she does. She's an educator. She educates law enforcement. She educates we have a PAR class that educates actual Johns that are being picked up in the field. We have diversion classes. So we have a multitude of things that are constantly in motion.
I did not realize you guys were doing all those things.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Education has to be big. I mean, educating the Johns, you said, but even educating police officers to spot this.
Yes, yes. So I think the misconception for quite a while was that prostitution was a voluntary type of career,
right,
so to speak. But what Deborah found after, as being a survivor, was that a lot of these women, they're not in it willingly. They're being coerced, they are being manipulated, and they are being held captive. So educating law enforcement allows them to approach victims in a different way, in a different approach, in a more healthy approach for them. And that's where we come in. So we actually work with law enforcement. We go to different different operations. We help once someone's been identified, then that's where we kind of come in and say, hey, we just want you to know that we're here and that we have these services, and we
That's the
would
first
love to
step.
help you. And that's the first step. And it's really just meeting them where they're at.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah, I hadn't thought about it. You see, I don't want to get too graphic. Someone standing out on the street corner, you just think, well, that's their choice. But you're saying often it's not. Somebody is,
no, it's often not.
and it's not like overnight. Hey, you're doing this now. Sometimes it's a process where they're.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what the scary part is, and what people, when they're looking to identify human trafficking, I would look to, if it's your family member, if it's your students, if it's your grandchildren, what you want to look for is people that are kind of injecting themselves into this person's life.
Yeah.
And you'll see a pattern, a coercion, control, to the point where, they could be backing away from the family, and those are the red flags that you want to look for.
Okay.
That really help keep your person safe by saying, hey, you're spending a lot of time with this person,
Yeah.
and I'd like to know him.
Well, do you have resources for family? Like they think this is going on, they can.
Absolutely. I actually teach a parenting class every Tuesday night, and we go over all of the indicators of human trafficking, what human trafficking is, how these people manipulate to get these girls or men as a resource.
I just put the phone up on the
Thank
phone
you.
number up there. If somebody calls, what are they going to find? They may not even know what to ask for or what to say.
Right. So we have our ER intake, and basically that's just our intake process, where we just start the process and we just have a conversation about what's happening. And that's really where we start, is having that conversation and finding out what the needs of the client is, and just going from there. We've had multiple people come in that didn't even know that they were victims.
They didn't even know they're
They
being
didn't
trafficked.
even know that they're victims. This could be generational.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it can be survivors of CSEC, of early childhood, instances of trauma, which makes a lot of folks a target, unfortunately.
I would imagine some predators can spot these personalities out there.
They really
prey
can.
on that, yeah.
They really can, and that's what's so disheartening, is because it's almost like this red flashing light above their head that says, I'm easily
I'm
manipulated.
a potential victim.
I'm a potential victim,
Yeah.
exactly. And so creating a safety plan when we get to sit down and saying, okay, here are some safety concerns that I'm seeing, and here are some ways that you can keep yourself safe and be able to not get yourself back into a situation like
Well, who should call?
that. You can call me. My name's Cindy Lawrence, and you can reach me at this number here.
And who should call, though? I mean, who, a parent, somebody who thinks they're a victim, or?
Anybody that is looking for resources, or is experiencing the impact of human trafficking. I have folks in my class that are grandparents, that are parents, that are actually supporting trafficking victims, and that's always a nice place, especially for family members, to get additional information.
I can imagine people would feel helpless. You know this is happening. You call the police, and the police say, "Well, who's complaining? Where's the problem?"
Yes.
And you actually have classes that could help people work through that.
Absolutely,
Wow.
because it's very challenging for the families, and so we want to include that piece as well, because it's really important that they know how to support their person.
Sometimes I know a parent or a grandparent, they could it's like harping on them for year after year after year. But you guys, there's a resource right here, Breaking the
Yeah.
Chains. That's great.
Give us a call.
What would you want our viewers to do? Can they help? They need to volunteer. They need to send a check.
Absolutely, all of the above.
Okay.
Our growth has been exponential in the Central Valley.
I can imagine you could never have enough resources. There's always more people than you can reach.
Exactly, and so we are almost primarily run on private donations,
Oh, boy.
so that always helps. We were really gifted with so many wonderful holiday gifts for
Nice.
all of our clients
That's
and
good
their
to hear.
families and their families' children. But one need that we constantly have is just your basics. I mean, we run a residential home, so the little things like toilet paper and paper towels and
Things you
and
don't
canned
think of,
goods
yeah.
and all these things that keep the house running, that allows us to use our funding for programming. So
That is great.
Yeah.
I always have all these questions. Thank you for answering all these. What, do you
You're
have anything to
welcome.
add? Anything you want to tell our viewers?
Well, I just want to say thank you for all the support that everyone's given us up until this point. We're really expanding into some amazing areas. We're going to be partnering with Fresno Rescue Mission at the City Center and moving our classrooms and education programs
That's nice.
over there. So lots of stuff happening, and we're just really excited about it.
Great. Now, Deb, what's her last name?
Rush.
Deb Rush. Deborah?
Deborah.
Deborah Rush. She's been on a lot. And she's just busy. I can't get her to come over anymore.
And that's, yeah.
And she sent you. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for sending Cindy, because you're a good spokesman for the
Thank
organization.
you.
But
Thank
people
you.
need to know about this.
They really do.
And this could be going on right in front of our eyes, so we don't know it. And we just need people like you to come in and talk to us about it and let us know there's a resource out there, too. So.
Absolutely, and that's so important because the complex trauma associated with human trafficking is so much different than domestic violence. Marjorie Mason Center, wow, what an amazing agency. But trafficking, there's just a different, there's a different context that requires different trauma
Yeah,
therapy, and so that's where we're here to help.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Cindy Lawrence is our guest. Breaking the Chains is the organization. You could help in a lot of ways, but one thing you could do is, if you need to help, you want to volunteer, maybe give a little money, which you're not even here asking for money, but I wanted to bring that up. You can call them, and I'm doing all the technical stuff, clicking on stuff, and I can't bring the phone number up large enough for me to see, so tell them the phone number.
It's 559-492-1566.
Yeah. If you didn't get that down, call me here at Central Valley Talk. I'll keep this number right on my desk, and if you want to reach Breaking the Chains, I'll put you in touch with them. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.